Welcome to TORAH Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with episode number 4 of Kosher Kitchen with Rabbi Chayim Zirkind. Tonight we'll be talking about kosher for Passover, so I'm glad you're tuning in. You're not going to want to miss it. Welcome back, Rabbi. It's such a pleasure to have you here on the show. I've been missing you a lot lately, and I'm just glad you're back. This is great. So, how are you?
Thank you very much. Thank God. It's a pleasure to be back.
Very, very good. Very good. Very good. Okay, so do me a favor. Where's your camera at? Oh, there we go. Okay. It looked like you were looking at the ceiling. Okay. Probably because the distance between your screen and where your video camera is actually picking up your face. So that might be so anyway.
If I got any closer, I'll be behind it.
That's funny. So I heard a funny thing. Some lady said, it was a comedian lady. I don't remember her name, but she said, my kids are getting so old now. So I think my daughter's older than I am now. Anyway. Well, cool. So this is a great time. I'm glad you had mentioned let's do this, because honestly, it kind of slipped my mind in general doing a show. And this is everybody's got Passover questions for sure. Of course, one of the greatest things that most of us have seen, like at Walmart. You walk through Walmart and you see this ham, and a little sign next to it says "Kosher for Passover."
Oh, that's good.
I'm thinking seriously. Oh my gosh!
Which part is kosher for Passover? The sign? Is the sign kosher for Passover or the ham?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
The ham has not eaten leavened bread, so it's kosher for Passover, but you can't eat it.
Right.
Well, let me go to where we get it from.
Okay.
So it's in Exodus chapter 12, verse 15. Let me go to that.
I'll see if I can pull that up too. That's one thing I didn't set up was the Bible software.
Okay.
You can read off, and then I'll catch up with you with putting on screen in a few minutes.
All right. So it says, "For 7 days you shall eat unleavened cakes, but on the preceding day you shall clear away all leaven from your houses. For whoever eats leaven from the first day until the 7th day, the soul shall be cut off from Israel." So obviously, don't mess around. This is serious stuff, because the punishment is to be cut off. What cut off means that's a whole other discussion. But basically, it's not a good thing.
Right.
So, commentary on that, Rashi, who's a commentary on the Chumash, on the Torah, he says like this. He says, so the Torah says, "For 7 days you shall eat unleavened cakes." So he asks the question, but elsewhere it says, "For 6 days you shall eat unleavened cakes." This teaches us regarding the 7th day of Passover that it is not obligatory to eat matzah as long as one does not eat chametz, leavened bread. In other words, two things. You have the obligation to eat matzah on Passover, especially the first night, but you do not have an obligation to eat it the entire week, but you cannot eat bread. You cannot eat leavened breads. Okay?
All right.
So he asks, how do we know that the first 6 days are also optional concerning eating matzah? So he says, this is a principle in interpreting the Torah. Anything that was included in a generalization in the Torah and was excluded from generalization in the Torah to teach something, it was not excluded to teach only about itself, but it was excluded to teach about the entire generalization. In this case, it means that just as on the 7th day eating matzah is optional, so it is optional in the first 6 days. So he says, I might think that on the first night it is also optional. Therefore, Scripture states, "In the evening you shall eat unleavened cakes." The text establishes it as an obligation, that the first night you are obligated to eat the matzah.
Okay.
Clear as mud?
Clear as mud, exactly. Yeah, clear as mud.
Basically, he's trying to explain. Rashi is trying to explain, how do we learn things? How do we get to these, to these conclusions. So he's teaching us a very important thing. He's saying there's a principle in interpreting the Torah like this. Anything that was included in a generalization, okay, you have a general rule. So far, so good?
So far, so good. Yep.
Okay, so anything that was included in a general rule in the Torah and was excluded from that generalization in the Torah
I think you
to
lost me.
teach something, okay? So you're taking something out, you're going to teach something from that. It was not excluded to teach only about itself, but it was excluded to teach about the entire generalization. In other words, if you have, I'll give you an example, I hope the analogy is okay. If you have apples and oranges, and you take out the oranges, but by taking out the oranges, we're learning something about the oranges and also when the oranges were part of the entire picture.
Okay, right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, it means that just as on the seventh day, eating matzah is optional. Okay, so he says that on the seventh day, you don't have to eat. It says on the seventh day, for whoever eats leaven from the first day until the seventh day, the soul shall be cut off. Okay, so he's already learning the seventh day from the first day. Okay, so he's saying this means that just like on the seventh day, eating matzah is an optional. It's an option. You don't have to. So it's optional in the first 6 days. That you don't have to, the main thing is that you cannot eat leavened bread. The idea of eating matzah is not an obligation for 7 days, but the obligation of not eating leavened bread for 7 days, that is the main teaching.
So, okay, so to clarify, it's not that you have to eat matzah the entire time, it's that you can't
You just cannot eat bread.
You can't eat fluffy, fun stuff. Okay, got it.
Correct.
Got it, okay.
Okay? So he says that, but you would think, okay, so where is the mitzvah to eat matzah? Because maybe it just means you can't eat bread. So he says, therefore, scripture states, in the evening you shall eat unleavened cake. And that's in Exodus chapter 12, verse 18.
Okay.
Now let me just slide down to verse 18.
There we go. Let me put that up
okay,
on the screen here.
So he says, in the first month, which Nisan, the Hebrew month is called Nisan, there's a discussion in the Talmud, which is the first month. Where was the world created? So because it calls Nisan the first month. So was the world created in Nisan or in Tishrei, where we have the high holidays?
Right.
But that's a whole separate issue. Here he's saying that in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, in the evening, you shall eat unleavened cakes until the 21st day of the month in the evening. So he says, so Rashi comments, until the 21st day. Why was this stated? Was it not already stated 7 days? We already learned before that it says 7 days. So it says, since it says days, how do we know nights are included in the mitzvah of, or commandment? Therefore, scripture states until the 21st day to include the nights as well. You understand? Because he doesn't say on the 14th day for 7 days, because otherwise we would think, okay, that commandment is only for the days, but at night you're allowed to. So therefore it says until the 21st day. So it means night and day.
Interesting.
You understand that? You understand?
I think so. It's a little confusing, but I'll be able to go back and rewatch it. So.
Okay. The question is, so he's saying, so it says that on the first of the month, on the 14th day of the month, in the evening, you shall eat unleavened cakes until the 21st day of the month in the evening. So he asks, why was this stated? Why did the Torah say this verse? What was so important about this verse? We already learned before, 7 days you're not allowed to eat leavened cakes. leavened bread,
Right.
right? So why this verse? He says, because since it says days, he used the word days, how do we know nights are included in the mitzvah? Therefore, scripture states until the 21st day, that means that it's a night and a day.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's also clear as mud, right?
Yeah, it all is. Okay. All right, go ahead. Moving
The
on.
next, and the 19th verse says, for 7 days, leavening shall not be found in your houses. For whoever eats leavening, that soul shall be cut off from the community of Israel, both among the strangers and the native born of the land.
Okay, so let's direct that towards me. Okay, so I'm not Jewish. I'm a Ger / Noahide, whatever you want to call it. So here where I'm at in the States, how am I supposed to make sure that I'm in compliance as a Noahide or
Well,
Ger movement?
it's not for a Noahide. That's what it says. It's for a Jewish, for an Israelite.
Well, it says, or the sojourner that's there also.
Okay.
Does that just mean in the land of Israel? Is that
Okay,
why?
so Rashi explains, both among the strangers and the native born of the land. Since the miracle of the Exodus was performed for Israel, it was necessary to explicitly include the strangers who were proselytized but are not descendants from Israelite stock. Meaning to say, a ger, somebody that converted to Judaism has to keep it as well. Because just because a convert was not at the time of leaving Egypt, so theoretically you would think, okay, they weren't part of it, so why did they have to keep it?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
the Torah says even a convert has to keep it. That's what it's referring to.
Okay. Now I know in Judaism, they don't call converts converts. They don't consider them converts. They just consider them Jewish. So how does all this blend together? I mean, I'm still
Well, there is a concept of what's called a ger tzedek, a righteous convert, meaning to say that he did it according to Torah, he did it according to Hebrew law.
Okay.
There is such a concept. There is such a thing called a ger, a convert.
Right. Okay. So
But
ger.
also the word gadim also mean could also mean, the word gadim has a few connotations, but a convert, the word is a ger.
Interesting. That's the first time I've heard that before. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know. Okay, so the sojourner, not the sojourner. What was the word they used for the stranger?
Stranger.
Yeah. Okay, so the person who is a stranger.
It says both among the strangers and the native born of the land.
Okay, so in other words, the stranger. Would I not be a stranger in this case?
You're very strange.
Just because I'm strange,
You are strange.
does that make me a stranger? What?
You are so smart.
Indeed. My mom.
So he says, Rashi explains, since the miracle of the Exodus was performed for Israel, it was necessary to explicitly include the strangers who were proselytized, but are not descended from Israelites. In other words, he's using the word a stranger as a ger, meaning a stranger, people that were not born Jewish, but became Jewish. They were strangers that became Jewish.
Okay, so right here in verse 19 where it says stranger, it's specifically referring to a convert?
Yes.
Really?
That's what it seems like what Rashi is saying.
Interesting. Wow. Cool. It's neat. I like hearing different perspectives. Not that it's different. Maybe I just haven't studied it out well enough. So
if you look at the verse, again, both among the strangers and the native born of the land, it's referring to both, whether the person is a convert or an Israelite.
I could see how that would be. Yeah, I'll be. That's neat. Okay, cool. All right.
That's part of the. I'm going to go off on a side note for a second. That's part of the problem sometimes when verses are are translated, and a little tweak can mean a whole other issue. That's why Rashi is very important here.
Okay.
And that's why he says, what does it mean, strangers and the native? Since the miracle of Exodus was performed for Israel, it was necessary to explicitly include the stranger, meaning to say the converts.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Do me a favor. Just can we look at the Hebrew? I don't know the Hebrew. I can read it, but I don't understand most of it.
Okay.
But
So
that way you
like
and
this.
what I would like for you to do, I'm going to put it up on screen, is to read it off and give me as literal as you can, being that you an Orthodox Jewish rabbi and your translation. I just want to hear the ring that it produces. Okay. So I'm going to put that up now. Put you at full screen.
I would translate it the same way he did.
Really? Okay. Well, I'm using the King James. I'm not sure what you're looking at. So.
Okay. So if you go to Chabad.org.
Oops, sorry. King James. There we go. This was over. Okay, cool. Okay.
Go to Chabad.org. CHABAD.
Right, and for me with that.
.org.
Let me see if I've got a web screen pulled up. I don't have one, but I can certainly pull it up. Do you want me to pull up a website on the internet, or just okay?
Yes, pull one up, because there you'll get the Torah and you'll get the Rashi commentary.
Okay, Chabad.org / or.
Okay, just type in Exodus chapter 12.
Okay, so Chabad.org. Exodus. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, let's see if that pulls it up. Oh, let me. Actually, you want me to put the Exodus part up on their website, not in the URL.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Give me 1 second.
You can put it up that they can see the actual. They can see the Hebrew and the English translations of those.
Gotcha. Okay, and pulling it up now. Let's see. Now, I typed the Exodus 12 in the search window that they have, and it just gave me a bunch of different links. So.
Just go. You know what? Type in Tanakh. Type in Tanakh in the search.
Okay, got it.
TANACH.
Oh, CH. Okay, I'll put KH. Okay.
No, it's Tanakh.
Gotcha.
It's actually not Tanakh. We had that.
Right.
From being in the desert so long, we had to.
Okay, so I've got. Okay, it did the same thing. It's just giving me a bunch of links to click on. So
does it have the full Tanakh?
Let's see the complete Tanakh. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Got it. Now I can do Exodus 12. That makes sense.
So they can see Exodus chapter 12.
Okay, got it. Torah, Exodus, and chapter 12. Got it. Okay, cool. All right, now go ahead and start. Yes.
If you look at the top where it says Shemos, Exodus chapter 12, then it says Rashi's commentary on the left side.
1 second. Let me see.
It says show or hide.
Oh, yeah. I see it there. Got it. So I'm going
to hit show.
Okay, there. I got it now.
Okay, now scroll down to, what was it, 19?
18, 19. Okay, so go ahead and talk about it. It's going to take me about 30 seconds or so to put it up on screen because I've got to actually create a shot for it. So Exodus 19.
So this is this. So it says, so it's 19. So he says Shivas Yamim, for 7 days, Sa'ar lo yamatzi bevatechem, which means basically it means sourdoughs, it means yeast, things like that should not be found in your homes. When it says homes, it also refers to in your garage. It means any of your places, your work. Yeah, you cannot store any of that stuff at your work. It's still considered yours.
I've got it up on screen now.
So you didn't listen to a word I just said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were reading to the audience. Sorry about that. I was trying to get it up on screen. It took me about 30 seconds to actually create a shot for it. So, okay. Please, actually, you don't have to repeat it. You can continue because we can always go back and rewatch it again if you want.
I don't sit there and rewatch what I said. I'm not that bold.
No, I mean for all the viewers.
So
Okay.
basically, it's important to note that when it says that in your home you should not find any types of sourdoughs, breads, cakes, things like that, it doesn't only mean your homes, it also means at work. It also means your garage, your storage places. The term home is inclusive. It's not specifically for just your place of dwelling.
Okay. Anywhere you would occupy, even at work.
Any chametz, the
Hmm.
word is chametz, any leavened breads, anything like that, you cannot have anywhere, whether it's at home. Does this disturb anything that light?
No, you're fine. Actually, that's fine.
Um, any place, any chametz that you own is a problem. There is a way I'll discuss later if my phone doesn't drop dead before.
Hmm.
You can sell your chametz to a Gentile, and that's not done through you, through the individual. You have to get a hold of a rabbi that does such a thing. What they do is the rabbi can buy. Okay, I'll put it in. I'll put it. Let me explain. A Gentile could own. You could have chametz that belongs to a Gentile in your home. Okay.
Okay.
So let's say I have. Let's say my roommate is a Gentile, right?
Okay.
They could have their chametz in my room, but it has to be put away. In other words, let's say we have two rooms. He has one room and I have another room. He could put his stuff in my room, but I have to store it somewhere where I might not come to eat it.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so because of that, they the rabbis have sort of put together a purchase and sale of chametz. Let's say, like what I did today. I have in my house, I have chametz. I have grains. I have cereals and things like that, which are forbidden to eat on Passover because I have yeast, which is a leavening agent. These are forbidden to eat on Passover. So I filled out a contract with the rabbi, and he's going to sell it to a Gentile.
Is this so that there's no loss inflicted upon the Jewish people?
It's just
A
actually
courtesy,
my
kind of.
it's that you have all this food. You have an option: either you chuck it
Mm-hmm.
or you sell it.
Right.
So you sell it, so it's sold to a Gentile. Now I could keep it in my house because it's not mine; it belongs to a Gentile. That if he sells it to, let's say he sells it to Jane Doe, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he sells it to Jane Doe has the right to come into my home and take that food. It is not mine; it is his.
Right. Right. Right.
I can't stop him. I have to tell him my address of where my chametz is. And because it's not mine, he's allowed to come in and eat it. If he is not allowed to come in, then it's not
It's a
a
void
true sale.
transaction, right?
The purpose of selling it is that I have all this food, and like this, I sell. It's not a loophole. It's basically I'm selling it. I'm selling it, and then I buy it back right after the holidays.
Gotcha.
When I sell it, it is a full sale. I have no rights to it. If I eat from it, I am stealing.
Why go through the trouble of selling it? Why not just say, hey, hang on to this stuff for me for a week?
Because it's still yours.
Gotcha. So you
You
have to
have
have a legal transaction of some kind to
correct.
make sure that you're
You're not
relinquishing.
allowed to own chametz on Passover.
Gotcha.
You're not allowed to
Gotcha.
own it.
Very good.
That's why it has to be sold. It has to it has to be out of your domain.
Makes
Think
sense.
about it. If I could possess it, it says for 7 days I can't eat it. So obviously I can't look at it. I can't it has to be covered, put away. I have no rights to that chametz. And by the way, FYI, most sales on flour, things like that, happen the week of Passover. The Jewish luck, they say the luck of the Irish. Jews have this luck that the week of Passover they have amazing sales on all kinds of grains and flours. I'm like, really? I mean, really? I guess God is testing us to see if we're really, if we're not doing it for ourselves, we're really doing it for Him.
I just thought about a similar situation that's y'all are going to just say, William, that was dumb. But I got to tell you anyway, 'cause it was. So I'm working at this house today, and first of all, I'm usually fine. I'm working. I never have to itch my nose or sneeze or anything like that, and it's like all day long, perfectly fine. The moment I pick up all my tools to try to go down 2 flights of stairs, and I've got my hands completely full, all of a sudden, like within seconds, my nose just starts tickling like crazy. And it's like it happens right at the least opportune time. So, go ahead and just talk amongst yourselves. But for me, I was thinking, really? Out of all this time, why now?
That's Murphy's law.
Yeah.
I don't know who Murphy is, but one thing is for sure, he has some interesting laws. It's like you're standing in a room with a bunch of people, and suddenly you get this itch in the middle of your back.
Yeah.
You're like, you're kidding me. And all you can think of is taking like a rake and scraping your back will feel just amazing right now. And you're thinking to yourself like, oh, you got to be kidding me, Or
right in the middle of a lecture,
like your pants are, or you feel like your pants are riding up.
Oh yeah, like, yeah, that's a good one.
No,
not now.
No, not now. That's not really the word.
That's great. Right.
That's just really. I mean, really. Or you ever have that flutter in your eyelid?
Oh yeah.
Everybody can see your lid go.
It's twitching. Yeah. That's funny. Okay, let's talk about something real quick. Let's talk about some of the things that are chametz or chametz, however you say it, that most people would never think. Like somebody commented, brownies or a bag of rice or whatever. Some of the things that tend to slip. So basically, things that would slip under the radar if you don't know what you're doing.
Okay, so anything that's made of grains is a problem because grains, when you get them wet, they expand.
So you could actually eat rice if you don't mind crunching it without water?
No, wait a second. There are Jews from Europe and there are Jews from Middle East. Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazic Jews. Sephardic Jews they eat rice. They eat what's called kitnios. Let me see how to translate that one. That's a good one. Let me see. Hang on 1 second.
Okay. So one thing I like about Pesach is, things that rise. So like my electric bill, I can just throw that thing in the trash because that thing is always on the climb.
Yeah, don't eat your electric bill.
Okay.
Let's see.
Wait, somebody said that hummus law is ridiculous. What's wrong with hummus? It's made with chickpeas, right?
Okay, so chickpeas is the kitnios are things that if you grind them up, they look like flour.
Okay.
So people will say, "Oh, that the person is not an observant Jew. They're eating."
So for the sake of shame or
correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Got it. So it's offense, basically. That's good. It's good to know. Okay.
So here we'll go to a couple of. This is the code of Jewish law. This says kitnios. Let me see something. How does he define kitnios? Oh, well, he doesn't. He just says where to look for it. He just says where it is in the Code of Jewish Law. Okay, kitnios. These are these different types of beans, things like that. According to the letter of the law, it is allowed to be eaten, but the custom in these provinces is not to eat them even on the last day of the holiday. Kidneys which have gotten wet with water, dry kidneys which have not gotten wet may be eaten. So, like your question is with like rice and things like that. The reason behind this custom is because if kidneys were to be allowed to be cooked and eaten, then the layman would come and think that even wheat, spelt, rye, oats, barley kernels is permitted to be cooked and eaten.
Right.
So the next question is the same way we're not allowed to eat them. The same way we're not allowed to eat chametz. We cannot derive pleasure from it. So
Okay.
the question is,
I have a burning question now. So I told you this would be interesting.
I'm not a doctor.
Explain this for me then. Before we go on to find out who actually observes it that way. Now, the very first thought that came to my mind was this. So if that law is in place so that someone else doesn't think that you're doing it, how is it that in some sects of Judaism, or maybe it's just certain synagogues do it, I'm not really sure, why, like, the women will keep their hair covered in one, but some of them will wear wigs. And so if they're wearing a wig, the other people don't know it, and the other person, a Gentile, will look at that Orthodox Jewish woman wearing a wig, thinking it's her real hair, thinking, oh, she's not observant like the rest of them are. So can you kind of shape that for me a little bit?
Again, there are different customs.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. Okay.
There are customs. The Jews from Europe and Jews from the Middle East. Sephardic Jews, Ashkenazic Jews. Sephardic Jews, again, between you and me, the lamppost, off the record, I'm not getting into the wig issue.
Right.
For the sake of the conversation, Sephardic Jews have handed down from generation to generation that wigs are not permissible.
Okay.
That's what I've been told. I don't know this for a fact.
Gotcha.
That's what I've been told.
Right.
Ashkenazic, different people yes, different people no. They say no for the reason what you just mentioned, that people will still think it is hair. The reason why a woman covers her hair after she gets married is there's several reasons, but the main thing, one of them is modesty, because the hair is something that is
sentiment.
Looked at just so that's why the hair is it becomes holy and it's special between her and her husband.
Nice. Okay,
so therefore what somebody else might think, yes, does play a role in it, and that's why some people they'll put a band around it to show that it's being held on, or different things they'll do to indicate that it is a covering.
Right,
but it is a very real thing. Many laws of Shabbos have to do with the fact that somebody might think that he's not keeping the Shabbos.
Right.
When I say he, I don't mean just a male.
Right, understood.
He or she.
Right, gotcha.
So that's why a lot of things have to do with how people will perceive the other. You know, a Gentile once asked Hillel, the sage Hillel, to please tell me what the Torah says. He says, "V'ahavta l'reyacha kamocha," to love thy neighbor just as yourself. Right? That is the fundamental. That is the Torah. Everything else is just interpretation.
Right.
If you think about it, the Torah is so careful that somebody shouldn't come to gossip about the other person. The Torah is saying, don't do that because somebody might gossip. Somebody might speak about you. And you'll cause people to speak bad about others. So the Torah is protecting the entire people,
right.
not just the one. Oh, if you eat that, you're in trouble. You're going to go to hell. It's not. It's about the entire. It's the general, and then you have the individual thing.
Right. And
I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, that's fine. And just
after cleaning for Passover the whole day,
right?
It's a little odd. I mean, I've been using bleach, Ajax. Wow. I don't know. You talk about brownies. I'm not so sure I know which kind of brownies you're talking about right now. Maybe I need some brownies. I don't know. But,
right. Okay. So and for me, I just want to. I just want to make a quick disclaimer for myself too. When I brought up the whole hair thing, and I know you know this, but I'm just for the viewers' sake, it's purely a genuine question. I understand myself both ways, and I can see why they both do that. So I'm not mocking either one at all, not even a tiny bit. So just want to make that clear.
I never thought for a second you were mocking.
Right. Very good.
Somebody asked me. Please forgive me. You could delete this if you want after.
Never.
Somebody asked me about the sheet. If you know what I'm talking about.
The sheet.
Yeah.
Starts with a B and ends with the Urka.
Well, basically, when a husband and wife are together, do they really use a sheet?
That's just weird.
Do you ever hear that?
No.
So there's some.
I don't get out much. Just to let you know ahead of time.
Oh, yeah, it's funny because I thought the Orthodox Jews don't get out much. You really don't get out much. Jeez. So somebody asked me if when a husband and wife are together, if I'm familiar with that they use a sheet, that because they shouldn't touch it,
Right, I got you. That makes sense.
So I said I personally like to use a quilt. Francis looked at me like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. David, I said I use a quilt and a nice mattress. Best thing for sleeping.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Boy, you really got to get out, man.
I do.
Jeez.
Oh man.
Your biggest thrill in life is walking down with a handful of tools and your nose starts itching. I'm like, really?
That's right. Thank you, son. My son just brought me a nice little glass of tea. Yeah.
I hope he brings you brownies too. That might help.
That would be really nice. Or you could just send me some brownies.
I think Pepperidge Farms makes brownies.
That's funny. Awesome. Okay, so back on the list of things that most people would never suspect that they should be getting rid of that they're not aware of. Just general ideas. I don't mean make a list of all the things. I'm just saying just like the whole brownie idea. Like my bottle of scotch. Like my bottle of scotch in there on the counter, right?
Okay.
Crazy stuff you don't think about.
Alcoholic beverages problematic because a lot of alcoholic drinks are made with grains. That's a big problem because again, once grain becomes wet, it becomes chametz.
So kosher wine is really the only acceptable.
Kosher wine. They do have some. There are very few. I think from Israel they make a couple of alcoholic drinks. I have never tried them. I'm not a drinker. I don't need it. I'm like this without it. Could you imagine? I had it at the time. Like,
you're quite funny. I got to give you that. You'd make a great stand-up.
Yeah, I'd like to sit.
Yeah, I got you.
It's funny. I had flat feet when I was a kid. I had flat feet, so my ankles would bother me. So the doctor measures my foot. Well, so I went to the special shoe store to order shoes. So he takes my measurement sitting. I said the problem isn't when I sit because when I sit, your feet are one, width are one size. So when you stand up, the foot goes flat. It spreads out a little bit, right?
Right.
So he shows me on the back of the ruler. It says the reason why they do it sitting is because we prefer that you sit a lot of the time. I'm like, I don't care what you prefer. I also prefer to sit. But to get across the street, I can't sit and scoot across the street on my whatever.
That's funny.
Because then I'll need shoes for that.
That's funny. Wow.
So anything like that, anything that has grains in it, problematic.
Earlier you mentioned to me about potatoes, right? Somebody's actually commented. Mitch says potato vodka, and someone actually mentioned too that scotch doesn't sprout. I don't know what that means in the context of what we're talking about, but is there something there?
Not that the scotch sprouts, but what is scotch
made from?
What is the ingredients for? Yes, what is scotch made from?
I'm guessing corn or barley or wheat or something. I'm not sure.
Okay, so that's a problem because it's either kitnios, which are legumes, seeds, things,
Okay.
vegetables, not vegetables, that are like grains.
Right.
So we don't eat them, and then definitely we don't eat the grains that get wet.
Okay. Is there any kind of okay? So I know that you can buy, and I do not recommend this at all, guys. Trust me when I tell you this. Do not do this. They actually have yeast-free or like, am I saying that right? Yeast-free bread or something like that. But it's actually a fluffy loaf. Well, it's not fluffy at all. It's like hard, but it's like a big chunk of what they're calling bread, like I don't know, rice bread. I don't know what it is.
You're talking about.
It's white. It's like white. You know what I'm talking about?
Let's not discriminate against the breads now. You're not talking. I'm joking. You're talking about gluten-free bread.
That's probably. This one was gluten. I'd have to ask my wife, but it was definitely gluten-free also. But man, I'm telling you what, we bought some. I was so excited, and man, I bit into that thing, and it was like, man, you couldn't pour anything on it to make that stuff taste bad. I mean, taste good. It was horrible.
So you really get excited very easily. I know.
I do.
Now I know why you don't get out too often. Why get excited over some dense piece of thing that they call bread? You're excited.
Yeah, it's like
really
cardboard.
Don't get out more often. You really don't. That's nice.
Right. Okay. So let's see. All right. So what else we got here? So
let me give you what are some examples of kitnios?
Now again, to clarify, your kitnios is those things that can be ground up to look like flour, right?
Right. Corn, rice, buckwheat, beans, including soy, lentils, sesame, mustard.
Okay, so anything that when you grind it, it'll actually turn into a powder form or like a grain type, floury.
That will look.
Okay, kitnios.
That's basically the reason.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
So what do you have? Oh, now wait a second. So you cleaned your house, you got rid of all this chametz. Now comes Passover. What about my dishes?
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
What about my pots and pans? So, thank God today it's very inexpensive to go buy, a new set of dishes, a new set of pots and pans for the holiday.
That could get expensive.
So what we did was we did it gradually. In other words, over the years we kept on adding to our Passover collection of pots, pans, dishes, and so on and so forth. I think we're finally up to soup spoons this year.
Oh my gosh.
I'm joking.
I'm sitting here thinking, what the heck is this guy thinking, man? Who do I have on the show?
I think this year we're going to use forks.
Man.
We add to the... It's like the first year I remember we had a few pots. We had a few... My sister bought us a mixer. We had a few gifts that were given to us. So we were, and then now we already have, a full, a nice holiday set of dishes and nice flatware, so on and so forth. So when you walk in, it looks like a nice, hopefully you think it's a nice setup, as opposed to, many years ago, you would find cutlery like from, one would say El Al, the other would say American Airlines. You remember those days where they would give you real metal silverware, flatware,
right.
Yeah, so some people I think thought it was for them personally to take with them. They've got 8 settings. Thank God they flew American Air. So if you liked American Air, you got American. It almost had a theme, Lufthansa, American Air, Virgin Atlantic. Pick which airline you like best, and that's your seat. So.
Oh man. Okay, hey, I'm
But
a oddball question for you. So C. Umbrello says, well,
I called all the questions weren't
so she says getting new toothbrushes. I don't know if she was joking or serious.
no,
Is there a
very
halakha for
serious.
that? Okay, tell us
Yes.
just a touch about that,
The
because I mean,
reason for that is because during the year you eat bread,
right?
you're eating foods that are not for Passover. You brush your teeth and actually get stuck to the toothbrush.
You've never seen
So
my
we have,
toothbrushes, have you?
huh?
Man, I like pressure wash my toothbrushes. With not, oh, not, okay, so
He don't get up, but you pressure wash your toothbrush. Yeah. You need a speedy recovery.
oh man, you know what? I don't know what's more funny, your comments or your facial expressions that go with them. There's no way we could pull this off without a video feed at all. This is great. Hey, I love you, dude. You're awesome, man.
And I'm the one that's on medication.
Maybe you should send me some of your meds. That'll be all right. Okay, let you get back on the
last line.
All right, go back to what you were saying before I interrupted you with the toothbrushes.
Yes, so toothbrushes are a problem. Anything that we use during the year is a problem to use for Passover. That's what I was telling you, that we have separate dishes, we have separate toothbrushes, we have things that we use for Passover have to state clearly it's kosher for Passover. Meaning to say that if it says kosher for Passover, we understand that there was somebody there that made sure that all the ingredients that went into this product is kosher for Passover, and there is no chametz in it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unfortunately, sometimes you will have a recall about 2 weeks after Passover, but that's why it's always good to read the ingredients. Whenever you get something, read the ingredients. If it seems like it's something that has a grain in it, really, really think twice. Unless it's like, there are cakes that are made for Passover. Let's say Manischewitz. I'm just giving out names of different manufacturers that do have cakes that are, but they say strictly kosher for Passover. That's something else. But just because something says kosher for Passover, do read the ingredients. Make sure it's a reputable. The word is hashgacha, a reputable supervision, a reputable mark that says that it's kosher for Passover. Don't just assume that it must be kosher for Passover. Why?
Is there a certain hechsher that's actually the best to follow, to go by? First of all, explain to everybody what a hechsher is. Most people do know, but a lot of them don't. What's a hechsher?
Hechsher means that there's somebody that checks the plant, makes sure that the products that are used are all kosher.
And so it's a symbol, right?
There are different symbols. Let's say they have the OU, they have the OK.
And that does not stand for Oklahoma University or Oklahoma, by the way.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. The OR or the OC does not mean it's kosher. That is a trademark. People think that, it says OC on it. Yeah, I'm glad it does. An OC does not mean, you'll find an OC on a football. Does that mean the football is edible? Does that mean the football is kosher? You'll find OC on bleach. Does that make you want to drink it?
Well, if you can't have scotch, you might want to have an alternative.
Bleach. Yeah.
Never.
Stick with never. Stick with the brownies.
That's actually what Delane Davis said. She said
there are kosher for Passover
That's
brownies, by the way.
That's funny. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are they edible? Just asking.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Okay.
They're not bad.
Right
you have to look up the dictionary definition of bad, but yeah.
That's funny. Okay, cool.
They're not bad.
All right.
They're actually not that bad if you kind of like dense stuff.
Okay, so
let's
see.
Like dense bread. So
you
probably love brownies.
Oh, you mean like the real heavy type stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
some of them are really heavy. If you drop them on your toe, you will need a tow truck.
Right. That's great. Okay. Okay, good deal. So, so what other aspects besides the we've covered a little bit about alcoholic beverages. We covered some of the food type stuff, dishes. What's the biggest thing that people would overlook regarding just cleaning the kitchen in general, like with the dishwasher or stove or things like that.
So you have to understand that cleaning it's not spring cleaning. People think cleaning for Passover is spring cleaning. You'll get burnt out very quickly because you'll start with the attic and you got to go through things that what you got from your great-great-grandmother. And, well, do I need this or do I not need it? By the time you get to the actual important rooms like the dining room and kitchen,
right,
you're so burnt out that you'll just like, oh yeah, it's clean. No, it's not. That is the rooms that need the cleaning the most.
That's where you should start.
Food is going, right. Where food is throughout the year. That's what you have to worry about. Not what your great grandmother gave you, an outfit that you wouldn't wear for your worst friend's funeral.
Right.
Okay? That's not cleaning for Passover. That's spring cleaning. Do that when you have free time, not before Passover. Because I will tell you, the rooms that need to be cleaned for Passover are where the food is. Because if you clean all that, by the time you get to the kitchen, you are done. Wow. And you're not going to clean it properly, and you're going to have chametz around. And that's a prohibition. The Torah says you're not allowed to have chametz.
Okay. Now tell everybody why the whole issue with wine is so critical. Because let me broaden that just a little bit. So one thing I've heard was that most whiskeys are not for Passover, but most whiskeys in general are kosher just because of their contents in general. But wines are more you have to be more careful with. There's just more scrutiny on wine than there is whiskey. Why is that?
We spoke about that a while
Did we? Okay. I may have to go back and rewatch it again.
And I'll tell you why. Because wine is also used for libations.
Offerings and things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's idol worshiping.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's why you need to buy, if you buy wine, you should try to buy kosher wine. For sure.
Not try, you have to.
You have to buy it. Okay.
You have to buy kosher wine.
Okay. So any of you people watching that's actually in the Austin area, there's a kosher HEB at Far West. Anyway, just in case you didn't know. It's got a kosher deli, excuse me, in the HEB.
Should I go there tomorrow? Or?
Yeah. And in fact, bring me a few bottles here on your way back to Jersey.
Do you want some brownies or just the wine?
You know what? Pause. You know why? Because you just made me have a visual of you cooking brownies at our new cooking show. There you go. So you make them there, and since you don't want to eat them, you just mail me everything that you make, right?
You don't cook, but you don't cook brownies.
You bake them. Yeah, but here in Kingsland, we do things a little differently, apparently, according to one of our viewers.
But wait a second. How do you know that? You don't get out, you told me.
Yeah, well, I just saw this.
It's different.
That's true. I should only know what I have here, right? So we don't cook them either. We just buy them.
Based on what you do at home, what your wife does, how your wife cooks or bakes.
Checkmate. You got me on that. Okay. So real quick for all the viewers out there, Rabbi and we're going to try to figure out a way to do an actual live cooking show, not just a not just a kosher talk show, but actually get him set up with like a webcam sitting about 3 feet from him, and he's going to like doing some, kosher Chinese food stir fry. I don't know, just anything, lots of fun. We'll do this, as often as he's available, but I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be just so much fun. It's it'll definitely be fun for all the viewers at the Knock Talk. They're going to see something way off the beaten path. This will be great. I think they'll enjoy it.
Wait till you see some of the dishes that come out. You'll understand how.
Yeah, I bet it's great. I bet the dishes are going to be fantastic.
The dishes will. I don't know about the food that's going on those dishes.
Did you practice this line before we came on? Because you got an answer for everything.
I told you, let's run a dry run.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just to give you a time marker, we're about 5 minutes before the hour. Do you want to? We can go longer if you want to, let's wrap it up. It's up to you.
Okay, let me read something interesting.
Okay, sure.
This is from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Since his birthday was yesterday, I just figured I'll just say something that he had written for the holiday of Passover. He says like this: the festival of Passover calls for early and elaborate preparation to make the Jewish home fitting for the great festival. It is not physical preparedness alone that is required of us, but also spiritual preparedness. For in the life of the Jew, the physical and spiritual are closely linked together, especially in the celebration of our Shabbos and festivals. On Passover, we celebrate the liberation of the Jewish people from Egyptian slavery, and together with it, the liberation from the negation of the ancient Egyptian system and way of life, the abominations of Egypt. Thus, we celebrate our physical liberation together with our spiritual freedom. Indeed, there cannot be one without the other. There can be no real freedom without accepting the precepts of our Torah guiding our daily life. Pure and holy life eventually leads to real freedom. It is said, in every generation, each Jew should see himself as though he personally had been liberated from Egypt. This is to say that the lesson of Passover has always a timely message for the individual Jew. The story of Passover is the story of the special divine providence which alone determines the fate of our people. What is happening in the outside world need not affect us. We might be singled out for suffering, God forbid, amid prosperity, amid general prosperity, and likewise singled out for safety amid a general plague or catastrophe. Don't mind my reading. Where am I up to? The story of our enslavement and liberation, of which Passover tells us, give ample illustration of this. For the fate of our people is determined by its adherence to God and his prophets. The lesson is emphasized by the three principal symbols of the Seder, concerning which our sages said that unless the Jew explains their significance, he has not observed the Seder fittingly. Pesach, the Paschal offering, matzah and maror, bitter herbs. Using these symbols in their chronological order and in accordance with the Haggadah explanation, we may see the Jews avoid bitterness of life, maror. Only through Pesach, God's special care passing over and saving the Jewish homes, even in the midst of the greatest plague, and matzah, then the very catastrophe of the enemies of the Jews will work for the benefit of the Jews, driving them in great haste out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, the place of perversion and darkness, and placing them under the beam of light and holiness. One other important thing I'm almost done, so don't get nervous,
That's fine.
okay?
I'll
give you brownies later. One other important thing we must remember, the celebration of the Festival of Freedom must be connected with the commandment, you shall relate it to your son. The formation and existence of the Jewish home, as of the Jewish people as a whole, is dependent upon the upbringing of the young generation, both boys and girls, the wise and the wicked, the simple and the one who knows not what to ask. Just as we cannot shirk our responsibility, I don't know what that word means, but it says it. I'll read it.
Probably to loosen or not accept our responsibility, I guess.
Just as we cannot, whatever our responsibility towards our child, by the excuse that my child is a wise one, he will find his own way in life. Therefore, no education is necessary for him because he's so wise, remember?
Right.
So he says that. So he must not despair by thinking the child is a wicked one. No education will help him. For all Jewish children, boys and girls, are God's children, and it is our sacred duty to see to it that they all live up to their above-mentioned title, and this we can achieve only through a kosher Jewish education and full adherence to God's Torah. Then we will merit the realization of our ardent hope. In the next year, may we be free. In the next year, may we be in Jerusalem.
Amen. Wow. Very cool. Any final words, my dear brother?
I think it said it all. I think that letter said it all.
I think so too, man. I'll tell you what. Thank you so much for coming on. This is just, again, it's been a great delight. Way more fun than I had counted on. So that'll help us get the Pesach kicked off on the right foot. So that's good.
But in any case, it's important to wish everybody, when it comes to Passover, we wish everybody a kosher and happy Passover. We add the word kosher. Why? When we say, before, any of the other holidays, we just say happy holidays. Why, when it comes to Passover, do we say a kosher and happy Passover? Is because we have to do more than normal. We have to, not only does the food have to be kosher, but it has to be kosher for Passover. Every detail, you remember, like the wheat, the barley, the different grains and things like that. So we say that you should have a kosher, meaning to say that everything should be at the highest level of a kosher and a happy holiday, and not skimp out and say, well, it only means this. No, it should be kosher, meaning to say according to the Torah, not according to our understanding, but according to the Torah. We have to learn Torah to know how we're supposed to conduct ourselves.
Nice. Wow, that's wonderful. Rabbi, thank you, man.
All right.
Yeah, we'll so thanks for doing this, and we'll keep in touch on how we're gonna figure out how to make this whole cooking show thing work.
God willing.
Yeah, God willing. That's gonna be great, man.
Or we'll just take pictures of nice dishes and make believe we made them.
Get a frozen TV dinner from the Kosher HEB.
and put a flag in there. We have French, we have Israeli.
Oh my gosh, you're crazy. That's funny. Okay, thank you, Rabbi. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure. Yes.
Are you off the line yet?
No, we're still live, man. You better be careful what you say.
Yes, I will. So tell me when you're off.
Okay. Shalom, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications bell next to it. We'll see you guys later. Happy Kosher Passover to all of you guys out there. Shalom, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in.
חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד איפוק זו העוצמה